My name is Carrie Mast, and I am an ACTEC Fellow in North Carolina. Joining me today is Linda Johnson, an ACTEC Fellow also from North Carolina. Today, we're going to be discussing a very important topic. What are the first things I should do when someone dies? During that period of bereavement immediately following death, what do I need to be concentrating on? Linda, thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your expertise. First things first, if someone I love dies, I'll tell our family and friends. Who else do I need to tell?
Well, I think you've made a great start starting with your family and friends because that's probably the most difficult. Then we might need to reach out to the funeral home, cremation society, whichever service you'll use. And then if our loved one was still working, their employer and the attorney that the loved one's working with, and check and see if there are pets at the home, make sure that they're taken care of.
Linda, that's a great point regarding the pets. Thank you for mentioning that. How do I handle the arrangements regarding the disposition of the body?
I think we first need to step back and see was our decedent an organ donor? And once you've determined that and that's been taken care of, if they are a donor, then we want to start determining what did our loved one want for a funeral? What were their hopes? So we could have a full burial with a service, cremation with also the service. We could have a green funeral, and also we're hopeful that the decedent shared their thoughts about this funeral with the family. Cremation, we might need to get the family members to sign off. Then you need to contact the funeral home and schedule time for the family to meet and make the arrangements. And then you're going to have a long laundry list. So, do we want to have a funeral home memorial? Will it be at a church or a synagogue? Are we just going to have graveside, or are we going to just have nothing? That's really what the decedent wanted. Then you need to think about officiant, flowers, music, um, a program, charity of choice for donations, individuals to do the eulogies. You'll want to get thank you cards. Are we having food post service? Do we know music and Bible verses? Are we going to have go be buried at a cemetery? Do we need a column burial for cremains? We need a headstone. If our decedent was part of the military, they may qualify for military honors at the funeral, payment of a headstone, or engraving. And then we have to decide where the remains will finally be interred. Is it in this state or is it in a different state? Because then you might need to hire a second funeral home. And don't forget the obituary.
Wow, Linda, that sounds like a lot of moving parts, and it sounds really expensive. How do all the bills for this get paid?
Carrie, it's shockingly expensive. Our average funeral is going to cost, with burial with a gravesite, will be at least $10,000. Then we have to pay for a gravesite, another thousand. We have to get it open and closed, headstone and engraving. And then we haven't even added any extra frills like the flying doves or the horse with caisson pulling the casket. So you need to look for a pre-need funeral policy. If there's an insurance policy that can be assigned to the funeral home, that needs to occur, or perhaps your testator has prepaid. In the worst case scenario, you might have to ask family and friends to pay for the funeral, and they may get reimbursed at a later date from the estate if there are funds, but you have to explain to them that they may not get reimbursed. Then I would look to see what type of bills the decedent has outstanding and prepay a summary of this. The bills can't be paid unless we have a joint account or a trust account. So it's safest to wait until you have a few weeks to get a good snapshot of how much debt is going on. And again, you might need a loan from your family members to keep the lights on in the house. Also, we want to keep the insurance on in the house if the decedent was the only one living there, because now you have an empty home.
Now, Linda, I know that my loved one owned certain property. They had an investment account and they owned a home and some other property. How do I handle those things in the weeks immediately following death?
Okay, The first thing I would do is get to the house. We want the locks changed because we don't know who's had keys. If you have tangible personal property that's valuable, that is easily transported, I would remove it from the home and store it safely. You want to make sure the utilities are still on. We don't want to let our pipes freeze. And again, don't forget about our homeowner's insurance. I think you want to reach out to your investment advisor initially, just notify them of the death. We'd like to, freeze the account, so to speak. And once you do receive a death certificate, then you can have an official meeting with them and work through the process. And with the car, we want the car parked. You have to go find it and get it parked. And I also would recommend destroying the decedent's credit cards and notifying the credit card company because we don't want someone using those cards that shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's a great point, Linda. You mentioned getting a death certificate. How many of those do I need and who gets them?
Okay, I'll start with the easy part first. So the funeral home or the cremation society will order those for you. And they also will contact Social Security to report the death, and that'll stop payments from Social Security. Now, you need to step back and figure out how many accounts and different types of vendors, investment facilities that the decedent was involved with, and that'll give us a good head count on how many death certificates to order. I say at a minimum you'd want at least 10.
Linda, if I'm named as the executor of the estate, uh, what do I do? I feel like there are a lot of different tasks that need to be accomplished, and I'm worried I could miss a step.
I would strongly suggest you go find your original will, trust, and make an appointment with an experienced probate attorney. And as the executor, you'll fill out your application, and then they will lead you through the next steps.
That's great. Linda, we've talked about notifying friends and family, going through the funeral arrangements and disposition of the body, and how bills get paid immediately after death. What else do I need to be thinking about?
Well, it's going to be a very emotional time for the family. So, and the family dynamics may shift with the death of your loved one, especially in our blended family scenarios. I recommend griefshare.org for the family members and friends that are having a difficulty processing the death. And to our surviving spouse, no big changes for a year, if possible.
That is great advice, Linda. All of this is great advice. Thank you for sharing your expertise today. For our listeners, if you would like to download a PDF of this bereavement checklist, it will be available on ACTEC's website. Thank you.